All right, hello everybody. It is me. I am not dead yet. Just waiting for some PC components to be delivered, as well as maybe going computer shopping this weekend, depending on how I am feeling about it. But as you can see, there's a fairly major update currently for the JP side, and we got some news today and some stuff to talk about. I'm not going to be reviewing Winter Luartha or the other winter units, which actually did get a Master Ability 2 upgrade. So I'm going to take like a day or so to look over the data, maybe try out Winter Luartha and see what I think before I really give my opinion about any of that. So I just wanted to say really quickly that that is not what this video is about. We're actually going to be talking about a few things. First of all, let's talk about the Warrior of the Crystal, which news today was that the final chapter of this part of another story is finished. Part 5 came out. However, with the update after maintenance today, it was not accessible. Actually, Chapter 5 was completely inaccessible. You only got an error code if it even showed up for you. So, yeah, that was not exactly what we wanted to see, seeing that so many of us were very curious about the last Warrior of Crystal, and since then it's been fixed, though. Might be a problem for Global in the future, but not for us right now. So just going to say right now, the big news is that the final Warrior of the Crystal seems to be water for anybody out there. So in the 5th part, you actually do have to fight him as a boss, and I guess mild spoilers. I think that was basically said from on the JP side. It was said for a long time ago, so it's not exactly any kind of really big spoiler. But yeah, he is classified in game as a water elemental character. Now, could be changed before release. Could be that he is a dark base character. Could be that he even gets changed to an earth elemental character. But for now, as far as we know, he is a water elemental character. He will be the Warrior Crystal of Water. He seems to be a really strong DPS, and it seems to be physical damage that he's doing. We can probably pop in once this 1.5 gigabyte update is done. But we also have another piece of news which may or may not really change a lot of people's opinion, because it seems today, if I am not being fooled or anything like that, that the next collaboration might have been leaked a little bit based on a data mine. Now, it's only a few images. It's not too much information at this point, but the next collaboration seems to be Persona 5. And again, take this with a grain of salt in case this turns out to be, just old data, or it turns out to be not true. I don't want to get people's hopes up too much, because at this point it seems like the next collaboration is Persona 5, because there were a few images, including a Take Your Heart logo that was also, I think, data mined under it. And that's pretty big news, because Persona 5 is not a Final Fantasy, obviously, and the collaboration being announced when we were kind of expecting maybe Tactics, it could be a really big shock. It might even be a Global and JP same time collaboration. No idea, but it is very interesting. Persona 5 is one of the best JRPGs ever of all time. Persona, obviously, a very high-end collaboration, so all of that is really interesting. But for anybody out there who is like wondering what the next collaboration will be, that seems to be it, which is very interesting. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Obviously, I could talk about it for an entire video. I probably will, about the possibilities of which characters would come to the game, which characters are the most likely, which characters are the least likely, and just we could do an entire video on that, so we're not going to do it for right now. Now, before we jump into the Warrior of Crystal, I do want to give a little bit of a preview not for the water element, but for the wind element with our brand new character, as Luartha has shown up in game. We can take a look at her stats based on a wind elemental party right now. And I'm just going to go over her really quick. So Trick Lancer, primary job, Soldier, and Dragoon subs. 3 move, 1 jump, 90 cost. Sacred Dress is her TMR with 435 HP, 10 defense, and 12 critical rate. Should be noted that the TMR skill is a wind attack by 25 up for 3 turns for allies, and also increase agility by 25% for 3 turns for allies. 2 casts, pretty nice little TMR. Don't know that I'm incredibly excited about it, but an agility boost as well as wind damage up, very clearly for a wind elemental party, and seems to be equipable by a lot of different units. As for her resistances, as you can see, the build that we currently have, no negative resistances, which is a big, nice thing to deal with this unit. Really only weak to water from the current build, but, you know, good against Pierce, good against shooting, good against magic. And magic is the one that I think you have to be the most concerned about. Slash could be a little, well, it could be a problem, essentially. With Barris, one of the strongest ice units around right now, I think that this unit probably has to contend with him the most. And this build is not the most, it's not a negative build against the ice element, which is a very strong recommendation. So I think that's pretty cool that you are able to do that. Now, we're not going to talk about any of the other stuff, but really quickly taking a look, she is a very critical rate defense penetration unit that interestingly has some nullification of confusion and stun. I think that's really interesting. I think her counter is pretty boring for the most part. Chance to counter physical damage with physical damage on a kind of less than impressive range. Not terrible, but I'm not really interested in this. As for the rest of her kit, she looks to have a lot of decreases in certain stats. She can increase attack, she can, you know, decrease mobility and healing power on targets, break physical barriers, has piercing damage, and can reduce defense. So basically, the really big takeaways, just quickly to put them, she doesn't have essentially any AoEs. That is the part I think that I really dislike the most about her, is the fact that she just doesn't have AoE. She's a single target unit, and I think that's going to limit her to as a PvP unit mostly, minus potentially being good in some raids, but then kind of needs some more spear units, and Wind does not really have those spear units. Not really, anyway. To take a look at just like some other notable things about her, I mean, she has a lot of debuffs and a lot of, you know, I think she'll be a very competent unit at getting some critical hits. Her speed is pretty good. Her HP is nothing special, and neither is her defense. I think that this is a little bit more of a, you know, kill 'em kind of unit, and that's basically it. Like, her HP is not terrible, but it's not exciting either. And to run like some of the bigger attack boosts that you might want to run on Soldier, that 60% attack boost to really get a lot of DPS out of her, it potentially comes with a little bit of hazard. I mean, like, obviously in Soldier, she could reduce her HP to deal some extra damage, and that gives her another AoE, or Dragoon has a few other piercing abilities that she could use that are really, you know, support that kind of piercing damage that she's already doing. But the unit is really good, and the spear as well is pretty nice as well. I think a lot of globalers were wondering what this would be. Not the highest amount of attack, but this is a critical version of it. Defense penetration as well as spear damage. Spear damage up by a lot, and piercing defense by 20. Definitely, I think that everybody is going to want to craft this weapon if it is all available. Sorry, globalers, if you didn't get it. But the other thing I'm not super crazy about Luartha is probably you're going to need to get and max this vision card. Probably easier on global, as you guys seem to have just better deals for getting vision cards and getting them max faster, where JP does not. But the accuracy bonus is nice. The ability on this is nice. It's a full package unit here on the JP side, and that is strong. But just continuing back here, we're just going to go in without auto on because I want to pause it for a minute to take a look at Astoria, the last warrior of the crystal. I think that at least on the JP side, it's really hard to pull the trigger on this unit and say you definitely should because, well, like, the question is how good is the character that is literally right around the corner? And I feel like right now that character is looking very strong. Astoria seems to be ending up just being like really nice. Here you can see that one of the big weaknesses is that she was going last out of all units, and this is a level 120 unit, so I kind of do expect her to go a wee bit faster. We're still waiting for him to show up. Shouldn't be too much longer. But the status effect complete resistance is interesting, and I'm curious to see whether or not. There you go. So there was a really high DPS one that she was able to do based on that was the one AoE she had in her kit. She was able to do a mass amount of damage. It's really nice, and I think that, yeah, her DPS is going to be the big thing out of this character. We'll even put her up against the unit that's about to teleport in. There he is. All right, so just to prove that I was not lying, I'll also go into an overhead because why is this a thing? We'll just go over here, take a look at the map, take a look at his stats. Obviously inflated HP, higher attack than magic. This pretty much is probably, I think, a good indication of what we will see eventually from this unit. 80s, the speed I think will probably change, but I think this is a very big indication that he is a physical unit and not a magical unit, which is interesting as well because, hey, guess what? We could probably make a really good water physical team with this guy, as well as, you know, throwing in Celeste and Farm. I think I'm really actually excited. A little bit of a weakness against Strike. Not sure if that will be carried over, but interesting nonetheless. As you can see, looks like he has a large AoE just based on the fact that he hit us from essentially orbit and was able to do pretty good damage against at least Ayaka there. We're just going to kind of wait it out so we can get Spear Girl. Yeah, she's pretty nice at getting through defense. Do like that. All right, a little questionable. Also, that was looked to be some kind of counter that happened before we attacked. So he might actually have a preemptive counter, which is also interesting. So yeah, for people who really like the Christmas units, I don't berate you at all, or bereft. I don't think that this is a bad unit to get your hands on. She is very clearly, though, a physical DPS, and that's essentially what she's doing. She can do a lot of stuff for getting her critical hits, but outside of that, I don't think you're really getting too much else from her. But hey, if that's what you want, then I think there's good enough reason. These are always pretty good value, so we're just going to do this, even though we are definitely saving up for our new shiny earthy boy. So I'll give a full review of Luartha once I've tried her out for a little bit more, but Globalers, you already have access to her, so you'll probably be able to discern already if or if not you want to add this unit to your collection. All right, no Christmas gifts under the tree this year. Fantastic. Means I do not have to worry about building them. General nice symmetry there. Appreciate it. It's all going to quite a few reforms into yellow, right? Just to tease us. Anti-symmetry. Ah, well, nothing. But there you go. Even the wrong version of Ramada, which is interesting. But yeah, I'll be saving more for Astoria than I will be, and with the potential possibility, I mean, the other thing to note is that both collaborations for the JP side end very, very soon. Uh, both FF7, or sorry, FF6, as well as Final Fantasy XIV end in approximately 6 days. It has happened before where we got a collaboration before New Year's because New Year's time on the Japanese side is very busy, so it's very unlikely that they are wanting to announce a collaboration after that. If they want New Year's sales, they'll probably put it in there. It's just a question of where all of these new banners are going to start, what's going to be on them, what's starting when, and all of that. Also, I guess just to make one final point, we haven't heard anything about just double checking. We haven't heard anything about a JP live stream at this point, so if there is going to be a big announcement or something like that, there doesn't seem to be any previous information. Could be that Persona 5 is still a ways out and we're going to get tactics in the meantime. Don't know, but hopefully you are excited to find out like I am. So let me know what you think of Luartha, what you think of my computer, and that's all for this one. Thanks for watching. Take care, and someday we'll get music back. See ya.